about how to get a job in IT, even though you did your studies in non IT subjects. It could be degree, engineering, doctor, or any other field. So, let me share my secret with you how, being into electronics, I moved to IT. So, as you know, there are many colleges across city or states where there is no campus placement. In that case, rather wasting our time at home or doing a work from home job or a data entry job, which in most cases will be fake, we can get into ITIL. ITIL stands for Information Technology Infrastructure Library. Further in slides, I will tell you about advantages of getting a job in ITIL. Okay, as you can see, my first screen, it says what is ITIL. So, for example, let me give you example first so that it will be easier for you to remember or mug up. So, we construct a house, and for that, how we think of planting pillars, it's similar to that. In order to get into a job uh, for IT, you need to have ITIL. You need to understand the foundation of ITIL, on which foundation, on which strategies it stands for. uh, we have service operation under which we work for, like incident, problem, and change. So let me get into that in later slides. So first, these 3 points are really important, so please make a note of this. ITIL, it describes procedure and task that to be used by an organization for establishing a medium level competency. You just remember this example and automatically you will understand these 3 points. So it allows the organization to establish a baseline from which it can plan, implement, and establish. So you're planting pillars, above that you will implement, and you will establish your building. So it's like you'll put bricks, cement, etc., right? So it's similar to that. So it is also used to measure improvements. So if there are any improvements to be done in cementing or bricks, you will do that, or you will do some makeups to your buildings, right? So it's similar to that. Next slide. Okay, so service, these are the small definitions, you know which is really important for an interview perspective. So by the end of the slide, I will also help you with which definition is really important to crack the interview. So I'll request you, please pay attention, and also once you're done with the slides, please make a note of all the interview questions I'll be sharing you with. And also, if you need any help in cracking the job, reach out to me. I'll surely help you. So first, the definition is service. Obviously, when you are going to an shop, or when you are buying an internet, obviously those internet persons will give you service. So similar to that, service means delivering value to the customer by facilitating outcome customer want to achieve without the ownership of specific cost and risk. So he doesn't care, the person who is in the opposite, who is actually buying the internet, he doesn't care about the risk. He- he's just interested in getting an internet and how fast is it, and the speed of the internet. And the next point is service management. So what is service management? It is specialized organization capabilities for providing value to customer in the form of services. So if you combine 3 to 4 services, obviously it comes under service management. And third is service provider. Who is service provider? Service provider is nothing but Act Broadband, Beam Broadband. There are many other broadbands, or we have Geo FiberNet. So these all are service providers to us. So an organization who is supplying the services to one or more internal or external customer. So it's not like Ambani doesn't uses his own Geo internet or his own Geo phone applications. So it's similar to that. Even internal and external customers are using that. Okay, this is not that important. It's just it says an IT service is a set of related functions provided by IT system in support of the business perceived by the customer. Okay, coming to third slide. Hmm. Now, uh, process. Obviously, if you buy an internet, there's a set of process which internet people go through. Like, they'll put your some setup box if you're having a TV, or no. I'm not sure about the box. Usually they keep at home. So I'm not getting the name, but usually they'll follow some process so that you get that service by them, and end of the day you just need to pay for what is being used. So process, it is a set of coordinated activities designed to accomplish a specific objective which directly or indirectly creates value for an external customer or stakeholder. Okay. Now what is function? Function is something that that internet is actually functioning, right? So, to whom and all, the internet is working for? Is it like on a team or a group of people? So, and the tools they use to carry out for one or more processor or activities. And then, what is a role? What is role exactly? Once you get into a IT job, you will be assigned a role. So, similar to that, roles is nothing but a set of responsibilities, activities, and authorized granted to a person or team. So you can be either a team or a single person. The roles will be assigned to you. What is RACI? This is really, really important. RACI matrix stands for, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. So thing is like, it is actually used to define the roles and responsibilities of a person in an organization. With this, roles and responsibilities within an organization is assigned to a single person, or it can be a group. So what is those four? As I mentioned, responsible, the person is actually responsible for getting the activity done. For example, you are in hope you all remember in school days, you'll be asked to write A to Z, alphabets A to Z. So how you write, it's like you are being responsible for writing, for doing your homeworks. So it's similar to that, the person responsible for getting the activity done. And then what is accountable? Accountable, it's like only you need to write your homework, it's not like your parents are writing, similar to that. So who is consulted? The person who are consulted, and whose opinions are sought to go ahead and with execution of the activity. You are done with the activity, and your teacher will see whether you have written A to Z completely or you have missed any words. So it's like that person is consultant, and who is informed? The people who are kept up to date on the program. It's like you are being informed to the teacher that you are done with the homework. Okay, coming to next slide. I don't know why this cursor isn't moving. Okay. So okay, this is really important again. Service life cycle or a components of ITL. So obviously you know what is ITL now, just basic information. Now for that ITL you have few components that, and this is what we work on a day to day activities once you get into a job in ITL. So this is really, really important for you to understand. So all these are like, I would say, basic information. If you have on this, that is fine, more than enough to know to settle in IT. So the components of ITL are service strategy, design, transition, service operation, and continual service improvement. So strategy, you're thinking like, you wanted to construct a house like this, you just have a map. And then design, you get materials for that. Transition, slowly for that materials, how you think of, uh, planting one by one, constructing one floor, two floor, three floor, like that. And operations is something that you actually build it. And fifth is like, if you have any improvements to do, it's similar to that. So service strategy, it represents policies and objectives. Design, it represents activities concerned with designing and configuring a service. And then you have service transition, it represents the change of transformation. So it represents the day to day operations of the service. And continual service improvement, it represents learning and improvement. Okay. Next is service catalog management. What is catalog? Obviously, you have catalogs for if you go to a store where Chroma store or any other store, so they'll provide you with catalog where you can see the features and compare it with more other phones like iPhone or Android, Nokia. So there are multiple phones, and you wanted to compare them, and you have a catalog for that. And sometimes nowadays they are providing a catalog where they doesn't have that particular features, and in future they are getting those in place, but they'll just put those in catalog. So similar to that, service catalog management is like the goal is to create and manage accurate service catalog which contains accurate operational services. It provides single source of consistent information on all the agreed services and ensure it is widely available. And then what is service catalog? It's as similar to both. So under service catalog, we have categories like business service catalog and technical service catalog. So obviously it makes sense. Business, obviously it's like IT service from customer perspective. So customers talk about business, but the person who are working in IT, they talk about IT, which is like technical. So customer doesn't know technical thing. That is the reason why we differentiate with business service and technical service. Now, information security management. Obviously, when you get into a IT job, the first and foremost thing they'll ask you is on the security. So you should be really, I would say, whenever if they give you a laptop, I would say you have to be, uh, you know, be more patient, and also you should like take care of it like your baby, own baby, because if at all the security is collapsed, then obviously it will be like a problem for you. Um, they can remove you or they can revoke your access. So security plays an important role in IT. So this is really really information. So obviously security is something like you have gold jewelry and you are putting in a locker, and what if that locker is broken or it is like it is not working? Obviously you will call up key person and you will fix it at the earliest possible. Similar to that, information security management plays a key role in IT. It is to protect interest of those relying on information system and communication from harm resulting from failures of availability, confidentiality, integrity, information security policy. So all these four are really important. So I hope I don't need to read it out, but still let me tell you, information is available and usable when required. Availability, obviously, information is available and you can refer it whenever you want. Confidentiality is like you have your own password set for your laptop and you never share it with someone else. And then integrity, information is complete, accurate, and protected against unauthorized modification. Integrity, so you are never going to share it with anyone else, the passwords. And also protect your laptop from being stolen or being lost, for example. And then information security policy, it will address each aspect of strategy, controls, and regulations. So information security management, this is the standard, that is ISO 27001, on which organization C certifications. So there are in ITL we have foundation, expert levels as well. So for you to get a job in IT, you need to have ITIL foundation certified. So nowadays most of the consultancies, or I could say there are few um, shops where not shops, certification center where they are providing you with dumps. You just need to mug up the answers, but still that won't help. You need to have a basic information of all these slides which I'm sharing, so that you can crack your interview. And you can easily answer if at all someone is asking you questions on ITIL. Okay, so this is also done. Now supplier management, this is not that important, just that I prepared it myself so that at least I'll have basic understanding, like what is the supplier management. So it's like whatever the IT services are supplied to a client, or a client who is actually sitting in UK, Hong Kong, or any other places. So it is like a process to manage supplier of the service. They supply to provide seamless quality of IT service to the business, ensuring value for money is obtained. So whatever service you are providing it to the client, end of the day they are paying it to you. So it's similar to that. It should include the management of all suppliers of contract needed to support provision of IT service to the business. So this responsibilities is like, you are responsible for, so providing assistance in the development and review of SLAs. SLAs in further slides will understand. It's like service level agreements, the contracts. It's like two parties are sitting in, two parties like, for example, you're constructing a house, as I mentioned. The person who is selling the bricks and person who is buying the bricks, there'll be a contract between them. What contract? The bricks should be of good quality. So obviously you'll ensure that you have been taken through all this, like, they'll show you different kinds of bricks or marbles or whatever flooring you have. So similar to that, they will choose it, and between them they'll have agreement. So it's like, if you're breaking that agreement, tomorrow you need to pay a higher amount in return. So it's like providing assistance in the development and review of SLAs, contracts, agreements, or any other document for third party suppliers. And then you ensure that value for money is obtained from all IT suppliers and contracts, ensuring IT supplier process are consistent and interface to all corporate supplier strategies, process, and standard terms and conditions, maintaining and reviewing a supplier and contracts database. Now, service level management. So, service level management is nothing but, it is like, how you improve the quality of a service. Um, so you sometimes negotiate. If for example, you we have a Amazon. In Amazon, you are placing an order. Sometimes you haven't received it. So what you'll do, you will call back to Amazon and ask, where is my product? I haven't received it until now. So if the customer service is providing you good or bad feedback, it's like, he's giving you the status update or he's not giving you the status update, you'll get a feedback link, like, similarly the service level management is nothing but, the IT service quality through a cycle of negotiating, defining, and managing the level of IT services, and instigating action to eliminate poor service. So obviously the calls will be recorded in order to ensure that, going forward, the person is having knowledge of what the product is and where is it stuck. So this is all about, negotiating on the the quality of the IT service, and to ensure that an agreed level of IT service is provided from all current IT service, and then future services are delivered to agreed achievable targets. So at least if they give the feedback based on that, for future, they'll think of, how to achieve those targets with the good persons. It is also to define, document, agree, monitor, measure, report, and review the level of IT service provided, and monitor and improve customer satisfaction with the quality of service delivered, and ensure that specific and measurable targets are developed for an IT service. Next is like, okay. So there I have told, I spoke about agreements, right? Which is like service level agreement and operation level agreement. This agreement is between, IT service provider, sorry, I need to make IT service provider and the IT customer. So defining the key service targets and responsibilities of both parties. So here the agreement is made between provider and the IT customer. Here the agreement is written between IT service provider and another part of the same organization that assists with the provision of services. So it's like this is between a beam broadband person and a customer. But this operation is level, like, IT service, Bream Broadband, and the person, another part of the same organization, could be anything towards, no, the same person is working for another company as well, but here it's related to services. Now, what is contract? As you know, no, we mostly hear about the contracts, which is like for time based. It could be for 6 months, 8 months. So similar to that, it's like between a Beam Broadband or a third party provider. It could be cloud person, the person who is sitting in cloud. So it's like contract between an IT service provider and a third party provider. So this is a contract, and this is not that important underpinning contract. This is just to have basic information, that's it. So it says a third party provides goods and services that support delivery of an IT services to a customer defined targets and responsibilities that are required to meet agreed service level target committed in an SLA. So based on the SLA, this is decided. Now, service level agreement. So this is little bit important. You need to mug up what is service based SLA, the customer based SLA, corporate level. Okay. So service based SLA is nothing but it covers one service for all customers of that service. So maybe established for an organization email service covering all the customers of that service. So email, you have Gmail, Dropbox, OneDrive. So all this, like, service based. So that service is being provided by Google if it is Gmail. So for them, it's like, they are, I would say, SLA is being established between that person, the service person, and the Google. So customer based is like with an individual customer group, it's like within a group, for group. And then third is our corporate level. So some organization choose to adopt a multi-level SLA. So here we have a concept of P1, P2, P3, P4, that in going slides I'll tell you. Priorities, based on the priorities you work on the incidents. That priority depends, it's like within 15 minutes you need to acknowledge the email if something is down, and within 30 minutes you need to resolve it. That's like priority 1. If something is down, it's like your internet is down, what exactly you'll do? You're actually working for some other company and your internet is down, obviously that company will kick you out in that case. So in order to avoid that, there have been some SLAs defined between two companies, and based on that, you actually, being an employee, you're working on that. It's like priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, and priority 4. So the some organization choose to adapt, as I mentioned, multi-level. Instead of P1 15 minutes acknowledgement, 30 minutes SLA, there are some, like, other companies which adapt multi-level SLAs, like, service level agreements. So corporate level covering all generic SLMs issue appropriate to every customer throughout the organization, and customer level is like relevant to particular customer group. Now, availability management. Obviously, availability management plays an important role. It says to ensure the delivery, the IT service, wherever where, when, and to whom it is required. It is requested by them to plan and build a reliable and maintenance infrastructure, and maintaining key support and also supply relationship according to service requirement. It is used for designing IT service for availability. It is used for measuring and monitoring the key areas and optimize the availability of the infrastructure, reducing incident frequency and duration, and corrective action for downtime. So, for example, we have a bulb at home, and that actually bulb is blinking. So that bulb is blinking since how long? So if someone has noticed, then it is good. If someone haven't noticed, then it's like that bulb will blink and one day it will break. So it will be a problem in that case. So instead of having that scenario, it is better, we keep an eye on the incidents which are in our inbox, or we are assigned to, like, the tickets we need to work on. If we miss an SLA on that, it will problem for our company, as the client will uh, you know as the client has already agreed or signed the agreement, it will be a problem for our company. So we need to be always proactive. So here, if you know that bulb is blinking, you go and change it. In that case, you won't have much downtime. So here it says the same thing, reducing incident frequency and duration and corrective actions. So further in going forward, you won't have that bulb blinking problem. So availability, high availability means service is continuously available to the customer with very little downtime and rapid service recovery. Availability with discussed. Reliability is something which is reliable. It's like the service is available for an agreed period without interruption. Measurements of reliability include mean time between failures and mean time between system incidents. Now, capacity management. Capacity management is like it is actually it says to use the best use of the appropriate IT infrastructure to cost effectively meet business needs by understanding how IT service will be used and matching IT resource to deliver the service at a great level currently and in future. So capacity management is something like, you plan infrastructure requirement based on the whatever IT service delivery you have, at the right moment, at the right place, and against justified cost. So these are the concepts. This is not that important, capacity management. Just for a notes perspective, you can make a note. If most probably I haven't gone through this question for my interview. I have almost given an interview for 3 to 4 companies, but I haven't came across capacity management and its concept questions. So but still, you just need to have a basic understanding of it. So it has a concepts of performance management, application sizing, and modeling. So it says measuring, monitoring, and tuning the performance of IT infrastructure. Application sizing is like determining the hardware. So sizing, obviously sizes based on hardware and network capacity to support new or modified application and the predicted workload. And then modeling is like, to determine the capacity requirement of application and determine the best capacity solution. The solution you need to think of in order to close that for completely. Okay. I don't know how this slide ended up. It has nothing to do with. Okay, let me go to next one. Okay, so now what is service portfolio? So it is the complete set of services that is managed by. This is for providers, the third party providers. So it includes service pipeline, service catalog, and retired services. And what is risk? So it is defined as uncertain. If you lost your laptop, the which company has provided, obviously you'll fall in risk. So you need to understand uncertainty of outcome. What would be your next step? You need to report it to your asset team, whether positive opportunity or negative threat. Okay. If it has been if you have forgotten your friend's home, or is it like actually lost, you also need to file a complaint again, file a complaint in police. Or you can reach out to asset team, like, who actually granted you that laptop from your company. You can reach out to them so that they'll block it, or they'll try to figure out where exactly it is. And then managing risk. How do you manage this? Like, you need to require identify, you need to if you're going to police station, then obviously you provide some proofs, right? When was it delivered, and how long have you been using it, and how exactly it looks like, all these stuffs. So managing risk, it requires to identify and control of the exposure to risk which may have an impact on the achievement of an organization business objectives. Service transition, the transition is like, how uh, from pillars you add bricks, cement, and you construct a ground floor. So the transition, how the transition took place. So you need to plan and manage the resources required to package, build, test, and deploy and release into production and ensure there is a minimal unpredicted impact. So it's something like, I would say, uh, You have so one for example, one person is there who is actually preparing a toy, which will clap hands. So before selling it to the customer, you will ensure that you try it by yourself. You you put that key on and you'll just check whether that toy is actually clapping its hands or not. And if you see that something is problem within it, you need to fix it. And then once you have assurance that everything is working fine, then only you'll sell it in the market. So it's similar to that. You ensure that there's minimal unpredicted impact. And then the ability to adapt quickly to new requirements and market development. This change management, I'll come in the later slides. Okay, before change management, we need to understand what is, okay, release and deployment management. Release and deployment, these two are like separate teams. So one person is like releasing its software. So we have an Android phone. So within that we have softwares, right? So in that softwares, they do some modifications. Whenever they fix a bug, they'll release a new software similar to that. Whenever they are releasing or they are deploying that new software, they'll keep us posted. So it's like its aim is to build, test, and deliver the capability to provide the services specified by service design. And the goal is to deploy releases into production. So it's like we have test environment, we have production environment, and we have pre-production. It's like I would say, before production, first we have test environment in which we will test that particular software version whether it is working or is there any bugs. And everything is well and fine, then we will push it to pre-production. There we will test, and even there, if we have assurance that everything is okay, then we actually inform our clients, and then we push it to production. And then once it is pushed to production, all our softwares will be all our phone the four softwares in our phone will be updated. So it's similar to that. The goal is to deploy releases into production and establish effective use of the service in order to deliver value to the customer and be able to hand over to service operations. So the scope actually includes the process, system, and functions, the package, build, test, and deploy release into production, establish the service specified in the service design package before final handover to service operation. And the activities, this activities is really important. It's like you need to plan, prepare for the release, you need to build, test, there is a models within that, and you coordinate design, building, and configuring of releases. And then you need to test it, service testing and pilots, plan and prepare deployment, you deploy it, and then you transfer it actually. And then once everything is well and good, you review and close. And then we have early life support. It's like if in future if you have any problem, we can reach out to them. Okay. Service asset is something like your laptop is an asset, for example. It is to define, control the components of service and infrastructure and maintain accurate configuration information on the historical plan and current state of the service and infrastructure. This is not that important. The scope and configuration item is also not that important. Just that you need to have little information on that. Cover service asset across whole service life cycle. It provides complete inventory of asset and who is responsible for the control. Configuration item is any component that needs to be managed in order to deliver an IT service. Information about each CI is recorded and configuration record within the configuration management system and is maintained throughout its life cycle by configuration. This you will come across once you get into a job. So you'll have a ticketing system where each incident you have been assigned to, you will have some configuration item you need to choose. So it falls under which configuration item. For example, you have sweets, you have laddus, you have chikkis and all. These are sweets, so there will be some sweet option. So under that it will fall. You have mixture, some other hot items, so it falls under hot configuration item. So similar to that, you in incident management you have different categories of configuration item. You need to choose which one is actually nearby to your the requirement. This actually you come across when you start working. This is like configuration management system again. A set of tools and database that are used to manage an IT service provider configuration data. The CMS also includes information about incidents. As I mentioned, the incident, problem, known error, changes, and release may contain data about employer, suppliers, and location, business unit, customer, and there are multiple tools like ServiceNow, Remedy. These are some tools name. You will now you won't understand that much. Once you get into IT job or you start working, you will find this ticketing tool. So for this, you'll be given training on. So all these tools, you'll clearly see that you have something, a page in the beginning where you find this incident, problem, change, no error, known error. It's within again a problem. So all this you'll have information there. Now, for now, this is not that important as you are joining as a fresher. So if you have just basic information of service operations, as I mentioned, incident, problem, change management, then that is more than enough. And some definitions, if you remember at the beginning I told you. So the CMS includes tools for collecting, storing, managing, updating, and presenting data about all configuration items and their relationship. The CMS is maintained by configuration management and is used by all IT service management process. Now, service knowledge, and it's like you have knowledge. Uh, there's some KB article, knowledge base article. It's like you already gone through that incident. Like you reached out to Amazon. They told that your package is here. It's stuck there, and tomorrow again you get a ticket similar to that. You have again placed your order, and it's the same thing. So what you will think? Obviously, it got stuck in this post office. I mean, it got stuck here or some postal area, or could be due to some, there was a heavy rainfall, so it was stuck there. Obviously tomorrow even I placed this order yesterday, it might be the same scenario, so you'll just leave it. So it's like if you have if you are getting the similar kind of incidents, obviously you will have an answer for that handy. So similar to that, you already faced that problem, so you will know where to go, where to check, and what exactly is the cost. So here it says the set of tools and database that are used to manage knowledge and information. The service knowledge management system, it includes configuration management system as well as the other tools and databases. It store, manages, updates, and present all information that an IT service provider needs to manage the full life cycle of IT services. Uh, Definitive media library, I'm not going to cover. This is not that important. Again, it comes back to the configuration item I informed you. There are some categories which you need to choose, like hot, sweet, or any other. Okay, now this is really, really, really important for us. So, service operation, under which we have event management, incident management, request fulfillment, problem management, access management. So, whenever once you join the company, this one and this one and the change management, I told I'll cover in later slides. These three are really, really important. On a daily basis, you'll get to hear about these 100 times. I could say infinite time. So, be prepared for that. So you should actually understand what is incident management, the problem management, and change management. Event management, access management. Event, obviously, by English it says you will get an events on that. Access, something related to your access. Now, event management, these all are really important. So please pay attention. Event management, it says an occurrence in IT service which require attention is known as event. An event can be defined as an any detectable or discernible occurrence that has a significance for the management of the IT infrastructure or the delivery of IT service. So you get an notifications like on your phone. If someone has logged into your Facebook, you'll get an notification, right? Someone on this device has been they have logged in. Is it you or someone else? If yes, then report us. So it's similar to that. You first is informational. Is it notification that a scheduled workload has been completed, a user has logged into an application, a read receipt for a mail. And then warning, events that signify unusual but not exceptional operation. There are indicators that situation may require closer monitoring. So you need to ensure that you are closely monitoring. You change a password immediately. So exception, where exceptions are there, yeah, I know that person, so that is fine. I just click on yes, it was me. And then alert, you being alerted, this happened, so be careful. Okay, next is service request commonly occurred. Standard request are service request, a request from a user information or advice you a standard change for access to an IT service. For example, you wanted to reset a password or to provide standard IT service for a new user. So these all come under service request. Once you join a company, obviously someone who's already working will raise a request for you. Once you start working, you will first thing is like, you need to reset your password. So there'll be appropriate tickets for that. Now request fulfillment, how you fulfill that request. You raise a ticket that your password isn't working, it will go to some other team, the password team, and they will try to keep a password which is like, very difficult. It's like numbering, it won't be that generic or easier. It's like you'll put symbols, alphabet, characters, everything, and then they'll give you the password. So once they have provided you with the password, their request is fulfilled. So request fulfillment says process which handles service request is request fulfillment, to provide a channel for users to request and receive standard for which a predefined approval and qualification process exists, to provide information to users and customer about availability of service and the procedure for obtaining them. Incident management, as I mentioned, it is really really important. So apart from this, if you find more information on Google, or you wanted to understand what is incident management, or you wanted to get deep into it, then you can refer other articles as well. But for now, for cracking interview, this information is enough, and also I'll share you example at the end of the slide. Okay. Now, what is incident management? It says an unplanned interruption to an IT service is known as incident. The main goal is to restore the service as soon as possible and minimize the adverse impact on business operation. Which means, as I mentioned in the earlier slide, you have a bulb and it is blinking. You notice that is called incident. Okay. You immediately remove that bulb and replaced it with a working bulb. So that is how you restored it as soon as possible, so that you have less impact on your business. So activity includes detection, reporting, recording, categorize, prioritize, escalate, investigate, restore, and close. So priority, it means impact into urgency. What is the impact of blinking of a bulb, and what was the urgency to change it? So this is based on this, a priority is defined. Sorry. Okay. Now, what is incident management? It's a process for dealing with all incidents. This can include failure questions or queries reported by users, by technical staff, or automatically detected and reported by event monitoring tool. So earlier we studied about event management. We get an event, and based on that, incident get created, and on incident we actually work. So it's like the incident could be one of the users says the software update recently I have installed isn't working, though my phone screen is blur, or someone say it is blank. I'm unable to open my phone just because I have recently installed the software, or my phone automatically configured this software. So these all are like incidents which you raise it with your with your phone providers, Oppo, and then it's like we have Samsung and other phone providers. Next is, okay, problem management is like as I given in the example in the earlier slide, that changing a bulb. Okay. So that changing a bulb is like problem management. So you found out that the root cause for changing a bulb is inside that filament is there. That filament was there was a problem with that filament. So that filament, you have replaced it with a good working filament. So that is the problem. So unknown underlying root cause of one or more incidents is known as problem. The main goal is to find out root cause analysis and fix it. So the cause is not usually known at the time a problem record is created, and the problem management process is responsible for further investigation. You do further investigation in order to fix it. So this is just the I would say an example I have given. So there are many other things like one as I mentioned, if one user is reporting that my phone screen got blank after I configured this software. So if that one person is doing it, might be the problem is with the phone. But if multiple persons, like 100 of persons or 100 of customers are calling to the Oppo or Samsung or any other phone providers, then what they'll do is they'll come into a bridge call. They'll have some technical teams on the call. They'll tell that this has been recently, there were some bug fixes. It's been fixed and it's been released to the customers, but now everyone is facing. So I feel that within this software there's something, there's some one of the bug isn't fixed actually. So we need to think of root cause. So all this come under problem management. So once you find the root cause and fix it, then there is a concept of change management, which I haven't discussed on. So the cause is not usually known at the time a problem record is created, and the problem management process is responsible for further investigation. So problem management is a different team, incident management is a different team. So we work as an incident management. Again, it depends on the company. If it is a small company, you work on all three, like incident, problem, and change. So be ready for that. A known error is a problem that has a documented root cause and a workaround. Proactive, reactive, and how you proactively react and how you reactively resolve the problems. It's like all this, goal and objective. What is a goal and what is the objective of problem management person? Proactive is like minimum occurrence of incident by and proactively identifying and resolving problems and known error. How you actually resolve it. So you do some trend analysis, you target a prevention action, you fix a major problem reviews. And then reactive is something like you resolve problem quickly, effectively, and permanently. So like problem resolution, workaround generation, generating management information. So what is the goal and objective? To prevent problem resulting and incidents from happening, to eliminate recurring incidents, and to minimize the impact of incidents that cannot be prevented. So, reducing or eliminating the impact of an incident or problem for which a full resolution is not yet available. Workaround for problem are documented. So, what you'll do is, now the software version has been fixed. You, with the help of change, you have fixed it. You have pushed that software across thousand of million of customers phones. Now what you'll do is you will record that. You will put that as a knowledge base, like it's like all in one we used to have in our school days. So in all in one you have questions, or I would say example, you have dumps, or you already got the question papers of previous years. So you document it, somewhere else, so that your younger brother or sisters can be, they can read it in future. So it's similar to that. You documented everything as a known error records. What is known error? Again, a documentation. But still, it says a problem that has been documented, root cause, and a workaround. Known errors are created and managed throughout their life cycle by problem management. Known errors may also be identified by development or supplier. And then we have known error database, a database containing all known error records. It is a part of the service knowledge management system. Access management, again, it's like giving access to a person. So to provide authorized user the necessary right to use a service or a group of services. Actual execution of policies and actions defined in security and availability management. It essentially execute policy defined in IT security management. Now this continual service improvement is also important for us. It says, this is the last, the fifth, this is the fifth point actually. This is also really important. Service operation is one which I have informed you, like event, incident, problem, access management. And after that, this is really really important. Continual service improvement, how you actually improve, once you are constructed a house, and how you do some improvements to that, the makeup. Basically, so it integrate IT service to ever changing business needs in real time. It identify ways to improve process effectively, and cost effectiveness, measuring and interpreting improvement results. The objective actually includes review, analyze, make recommendation on improvement opportunities in each life cycle phase. The life cycle could be a little with the components we have discussed, like strategies, design, transition, operation, review, analyze, service level results. What is the principle of continual service improvement? It improve cost effectiveness of delivering IT service. It identify, implement improvements activities of the ITSM process and supporting tools. Ensure applicable quality management methods are used to support continual service improvement activities. And we have these metrics. Service, process, and technology. Obviously, service is result to end-to-end service. Process is like CSF, KPIs, um, key point indicators, and activity metrics for service management process. Technology metrics, something related to technology, that is your utilization, performance, and availability. Your phone has performance, like it has Linux installed as an operating system. For that, you have utilization, performance, and availability. So actually, this is the end of the slide, but still we haven't discussed about change management. Let me do that. Okay, this is the first slide. Yeah, change management. Now, what is change management? Change management is something that, as I mentioned, the bulb, you found out that the bulb is an incident. You saw that it was blinking. Second is your problem management, which is like you found that filament was a problem, so you remove that filament and you have fixed the another filament which is like working one. So the filament which is actually working, you changed it, right? That comes under change management. So obviously you got that a little bit of hint. So, what is service change? The addition, modification, or removal of unauthorized, planned, or supported service or service component and its associated documentation. To give another example, you have a laptop. In that, one of your driver isn't working. So you notice that you found out that the driver has a problem, and you remove that driver and install a new one. That comes under change. So even in servers, you have routers or switches not working, you change it. So what is the purpose of change management? So it actually it has a standard method and procedure used for efficient and prompt handling of all changes. All changes to service asset and configuration items are recorded. And then what is the goal? Respond to the customer changing business requirement while maximizing value and reducing incidents, disruption, and rework. So you need to respond to the business and IT request for change that will align the services with business needs. And also the what is the objective? To ensure the changes are recorded and then evaluated, authorized, prioritized, planned, tested, implemented, documented, and reviewed in a controlled manner. So change management basically it's like you found out the drivers has a problem. So before fixing the drivers, you need to get it approved from your manager. Since you are working, you need to push that in a production. So as I mentioned, we have test environment, we have pre-production environment. So you need to first change in those things, and then you need to test whether it is working or not, and then you need to fix it in the main, that is your production server. Now change type, we have different change type. So that you know uh, again a bulb example. If that room is not being used, even though it is blanking, we just don't care it. It's like a normal change, we can change it later. So standard change is something like people are working, we need to change it. But emergency is something like already because of that someone eyes are paining, or it is hurting them. So obviously with an emergency you change it. So this is the differentiations of this. So normal change, it is raised by request. So it goes through request with the help of you raise a request and you get all approvals. Slowly you will do it. You have RFCs to the service portfolio, RFC to the service, project change, proposal, user access request, operational activities. Next is your standard change. It is a change to service or infrastructure for which there is a pre-authorization by the change management that has an accepted or established procedure to provide a specific change requirement. Also can be pre-approved changes. Now the third is emergency change, which needs to be introduced as soon as possible. As I mentioned, it is like as soon as possible, because someone is getting hurt because of the bulb. So now whenever you raise a change or a request for a change, these are the 7 R's you need to keep in your mind. First is who raised the change. What is the reason for the change? What is the return required from the change? What is the risk involved in the change? What resources are required to deliver the change? Who is responsible for the build, test, and implementation of the change? What is the relationship between this change and other changes? Who raised the change? It could be someone, mm, desktop support, desktop support person. What is the reason? Reason is like bulb is blinking. Return required from the change, we need to we need to fix it as it is hurting associates ice. Risk involved. Desert, if it is hot, um, you need to off the switch and do it and change it when cool down. What resources? Just a filament. Who is responsible? Like it's like this is, I'm just giving a example here as in bulk, but who is responsible? It's like one deploy person, a deployment team would be there, but deployment team example. And what is the relationship between this change and other changes? There were no other change raised on changing an filament, but you have multiple changes, like you need to compare them and then give an explanation. Now, one more important stuff I need to talk about is like CAB. Yeah, it's like change advisory board is something like you have multiple people sitting there, and they all will stop you from doing this change. They will tell why is it required and what is what impact it has on people. So there are like obviously BJP Congress. So how these people will fight, similar to that, you'll have a CAB, change advisory board, where you have multiple different teams sitting and they fight with each other. And one person who actually have a great stuff for the actual requirement of this change, they will win it. So similarly, they'll ensure that his change get approved based on the comments he has or presentation he has provided in front of them. And if that really impacting, like you have hundred of customers, as I mentioned, whose software had a problem and they fixed it, obviously they need to release. If not, they won't purchase our phone again. So it's similar to that. Until and unless they have valid reason for doing this change, cab people won't approve. So the remediation planning, no changes should be approved without having explicitly addressed the question of what to do if it is not successful. Say if that software update, they have fixed the bugs and released it, but still they are facing the issue, then what they'll do is they'll revert that change. Five risk indicators of poor change. If you have poor change, these are the risk indicator. Obviously, like, I request you not to fall in this. The one is like unauthorized changes, unplanned outages. That change, because of that change, your phone is not being used for a complete day. Most of the youngsters will die in that case, because they play this PUBG and other stuffs, right nowadays, Free Fire. So obviously, it impact them a lot. So you need to ensure that you doesn't fall under these five risk indicators. What are the challenges of change management? Challenges, obviously, you need to give the correct answer for what is being changed. Like lack of ownership of the impacted system, inaccurate configuration data may result in poor impact assessment. By passing the agreed procedures, there may be resistance against an umbrella of changing management authority. Okay, fine, I'm done with the slides. Thanks for watching. And guys, please do share, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. And one more request I have is, like if you feel that this slide, whatever I have shared, the information was useful, please please ask your friends, whoever is looking out for a job in IT, and whoever is actually sitting at home and really wanted a job, to watch this video. And if they have any queries, they can drop phone numbers or emails, or I would say any source they need help from. I'll for sure assist. And yeah, that's it. Have a good day. Bye bye.